Welcome to my 1000 Topic English channel. Today, we'll be learning an English story to enhance our listening and writing skills. Subscribe now and join us as we explore amazing English words, vocabulary, and grammar to help you grow and succeed. Don't forget to hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. Drop a comment below and let us know what you'd love to see next. Chapter 1: The Humble Farmer. The village of Greenfield was a picturesque place, nestled between rolling hills and fertile farmland. It was a small, tight-knit community where everyone knew each other by name, and life moved at a gentle, predictable pace. The villagers relied on their farms for sustenance, and the land was generous to those who worked it with care and respect. Thomas was one such farmer. A man in his early 40s, with calloused hands and a sun-weathered face, he had spent his entire life tending to the land. His farm was modest but well kept, with a small field of wheat, a vegetable garden, and a pen for his animals. He and his wife, Clara, lived in a cozy cottage at the edge of the village, surrounded by the sounds of nature and the scent of fresh earth. Thomas was a hard-working man, rising before dawn each day to tend to his crops and animals. Clara, his partner in both life and labor, worked alongside him, her hands as skilled as his in the art of farming. Together, they made a good life for themselves, though it was not without its struggles. The seasons were unpredictable, and there were years when the harvest was meager, forcing them to tighten their belts and rely on the kindness of their neighbors. Despite the challenges, Thomas and Clara were content. They had each other, their health, and their farm. But like all people, they dreamed of more, a life where they didn't have to worry about making ends meet or working from dawn until dusk. They dreamed of a home with a sturdy roof that didn't leak during the rainy season, of warm clothes that didn't have patches, and of a future where they could rest without fear of what tomorrow might bring. One morning, as Thomas was feeding the animals, he noticed something unusual about one of his geese. The goose, which he had named Goldie, was behaving strangely. She was pacing back and forth in her pen, clucking nervously and flapping her wings as if something were troubling her. Thomas knelt down to inspect her, wondering if she was unwell. To his astonishment, Goldie laid an egg unlike any he had ever seen. It was larger than a normal egg and shimmered with a golden hue. Thomas picked it up, his hands trembling with excitement. The egg was heavy, its surface smooth and cool to the touch. He held it up to the sunlight, marveling at the way it gleamed. Could this be real gold? He wondered aloud. Chapter 2: The First Golden Egg. Thomas rushed back to the house, clutching the golden egg in his hands. "Clara, look at this!" he exclaimed, bursting through the door. Clara, who was kneading dough for bread, looked up in surprise. Her eyes widened as she saw the egg in Thomas's hands. "Is that gold?" she asked, her voice filled with disbelief. "I think so," Thomas replied. "But let's take it to the village jeweler to be sure." The couple hurried to the village, their hearts pounding with excitement. The jeweler, an elderly man named Mr. Whitaker, examined the egg carefully. He held it up to the light, tapped it gently, and even bit it to test its hardness. Finally, he looked at Thomas and Clara with a smile. "This is indeed gold," he confirmed. "And of the purest quality. Where did you find it?" Thomas explained about Goldie, and Mr. Whitaker's eyes lit up with interest. "You have a very special goose," he said. "Take good care of her." With the jeweler's confirmation, Thomas and Clara sold the golden egg for a substantial sum of money. It was more than they had ever earned in a year. Overwhelmed with joy, they returned home, their hearts filled with hope for a brighter future. That evening, as they sat by the fire, Thomas and Clara talked late into the night. They dreamed of all the things they could do with their newfound wealth. They could repair their home, buy new clothes, and even hire help for the farm. For the first time in their lives, they felt a sense of security. Chapter 3, A New Routine. From that day on, Goldie laid a golden egg every morning. Thomas and Clara's lives changed dramatically. They no longer had to worry about money, and they were able to afford luxuries they had only dreamed of. They bought new clothes, repaired their home, and even hired a young boy from the village to help with the farm work. But as their wealth grew, so did their desires. Thomas began to dream of even greater riches. If Goldie can lay one golden egg a day, he thought, imagine how much gold she must have inside her. What if we could get all the gold at once? Clara, however, was more cautious. Thomas, we should be grateful for what we have, she said. Goldie has already given us so much. Let's not be greedy. But Thomas couldn't shake the thought. The idea of instant wealth consumed him, and he began to devise a plan. Chapter 4, The Fateful Decision. One evening, after Goldie had laid her daily golden egg, Thomas approached Clara with a determined look in his eyes. I've made up my mind, he said. I'm going to cut Goldie open and take all the gold at once. We'll be rich beyond our wildest dreams. Clara's face paled. Thomas, no. That's madness. If you kill Goldie, we'll lose the golden eggs forever. Please, think about what you're doing. But Thomas was too blinded by greed to listen. You're too cautious, Clara, he said. This is our chance to be truly wealthy. I won't let it slip away. The next morning, Thomas took a sharp knife and approached Goldie's nest. The goose looked up at him with trusting eyes, unaware of his intentions. With a heavy heart but a determined hand, Thomas made the fateful cut. Chapter 5, The Harsh Reality. As Thomas opened Goldie's body, he searched desperately for the treasure he believed was inside. But to his horror, he found nothing, no gold, no jewels, just the ordinary insides of a goose. Thomas's heart sank as the realization hit him. He had destroyed the very source of his wealth. Goldie was gone, and with her, the golden eggs. Clara found him sitting by the empty nest, his face filled with regret. What have I done? He whispered, tears streaming down his face. I've ruined everything. Clara knelt beside him, her own eyes filled with sorrow. We had everything we needed, Thomas, she said. But greed clouded your judgment. Now we've lost it all. Chapter 6, A Lesson Learned. In the days that followed, Thomas and Clara returned to their old life of hard work and frugality. The other villagers, who had once envied their wealth, now pitied them. But Thomas had learned a valuable lesson. Greed leads to loss, he told Clara one evening as they sat by the fire. I was so focused on what I didn't have that I forgot to appreciate what I did have. Goldie gave us so much, and I threw it all away. Clara nodded, her hand resting on his. We still have each other, she said. And we have our farm. We'll rebuild, Thomas. Together. And so, they did. Though they never regained the wealth they had once known, they found contentment in their simple life. Thomas often told the story of the goose that laid the golden eggs, using it as a reminder to himself and others of the dangers of greed and the importance of gratitude.